Here we are at the North American International Auto Show, and I'm David Barrett for VehicleVoice, and I'm with Mike Warsaw from Johnson Controls. Hello, Mike.
Hi.
Johnson Controls is not just some technology company out in the backwoods. This is a leading company, 35 million cars a year, get your input and your technology. Tell me what you do for the auto industry.
Right. We really look at the entire interior, not just inside the car, but under the hood as well. But really every aspect of the interior in seating, electronics, interior components. And what it's really all about is innovation, bringing innovation to the vehicles. So we really, if you think about, we really enable the OEMs to come up, to integrate these new ideas and to see some new inventions come out to market to really differentiate each vehicle from the next. So we help our customers do that.
Now, it seems to me, if I remember right, that almost every manufacturer in the world uses Johnson Controls in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, just about, it is every manufacturer in the world in some certain way. So, we enjoy a majority of seating in most vehicles, 110 million batteries a year, but then things that you might not be aware of, like electronics, with HomeLink or inside the cluster and the cluster design. And when we talk about things like cluster, we're talking about really unique ways of getting some distinction there. Startup sequences and special lighting effects and those kinds of things that make it a special experience. And when we talk about other electronics, we're talking about things like a mobile device gateway, where you can hook up your Bluetooth phone or your iPod and that sort of thing. And it's that experience that we're enabling that most consumers aren't going to know Johnson Controls, but it'll create an experience that will identify that brand for our customers.
In fact, here we are. This is the Lincoln MKX, one of Lincoln's newest and most exciting new products. Yeah. But it's actually just part of the MKX. We're missing the outside. This is the inside. What are you involved with here?
Yeah, the part we're showing here is, this is a brand new vehicle. It's a luxury vehicle from Lincoln. And the unique thing here is that you have multicolor, you have soft on your dash, on your center console, but it's perfect craftsmanship. And this is critical to the industry. It's critical to Ford and Lincoln right now, that the execution is absolutely flawless, and that's what we're bringing to market here with a beautiful instrument panel dashboard, if you will, like this.
Now, one thing that I noticed that's missing from where we're standing right now is seats. And it seems to me, if I remember right, that you guys do a lot with seating, yes, so maybe we should go look at some of those and talk about it. So when it comes to seating, you guys are innovators in a number of different ways. So for example, a lot of vehicles have 3 rows of seating now.
Right.
Getting into that 3rd row is not fun, but
right.
You figured out a neat solution.
Yeah, so getting into the 3rd row, the important thing is it's usually small kids that are in the 3rd row. So for even a 5-year-old to be able to pull the handle, it's a very, very easy movement, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of flips up and swivels inside. This is a whole new way to then get to the 3rd row. There's no sharp edges, there's no big seats that are flipping and folding and that sort of thing. And it's very, very simple. The consumer is just going to expect convenience, but there's a tremendous amount of innovation that goes into trying to figure out the mechanism, the whole architecture of how this thing can work within a whole system of a vehicle interior.
Now, speaking of innovation, one of the things that the automobile industry often has a difficult time doing is making a great leap forward. Everything kind of has to evolve.
Right.
But Johnson is making a big leap in seat technology. You've developed an entirely new kind of automotive seat, haven't you?
Right, yeah.
Let's take a look. It's right over
let me
here.
show you that. This is our slim seat. And at first appearance, when you look at it, it is much thinner than the conventional seat. It has a very dramatic appearance. And it really kind of recalls some of the concept vehicles that we've seen the last 5-10 years. What's really important about it is it does create more volume in the interior because it is significantly thinner, and it just creates more visual excitement and allows an OEM to differentiate their interior by the seating. So there's some significant technology going on to enable that, and it's very exciting to the consumer when they see it. It creates more space. So you can imagine a smaller vehicle that's obviously lighter, gets more fuel economy because it's a smaller vehicle, with the same amount of interior space of a larger vehicle, simply because there's just more space that the seat now accommodates. So that's pretty powerful.
Speaking of innovation, it's not just a seat or an instrument cluster, but it's actually the materials and how they function with electronics, isn't it?
Exactly. What you're looking at here is a new film technology that we have, where we've integrated that into what looks like, a normal piece of plastic. It's clean, the craftsmanship is great, and then when you push the button for the DVD to come down, all of a sudden your buttons appear. And so they're functional buttons, they're backlit, they're easy to get to, and then when you're done with the DVD, they disappear and you have a non-cluttered interior.
Now, Mike, there are also more and more hybrids on the road.
Right.
And with hybrids, less is more. Tell us about how
right.
Johnson Controls is innovating in this area.
Well, Johnson Controls announced last year that we're committed to lithium-ion as the technology, and that is becoming the technology of choice for next-generation hybrids. So what you're seeing here is a lithium-ion battery set that is 40% lighter. It takes up 40% less space than the conventional battery today, and it has more power capability.
There also is a concern when you're in an accident in a hybrid about being electrocuted or electricity starting a fire, and this system is designed to prevent that kind of risk for firefighters and for passengers alike.
Right. There's actually 4 different systems or redundant systems in place. There's a cutoff switch that's easy to see. There's also a pyrotechnic device that disconnects it, as well as 2 computer systems that will turn it off as well.
So this is the interior of a Mazda CX-7, and Johnson Controls has done some very interesting things with what we call MMI, or man-machine interface, right? Tell me about the center stack and the gateway.
Right. Well, first off, what we've done is we've taken the conventional interior and we've changed it. So this is a concept vehicle. This interior center stack represents our mobile device gateway product, which is a very sophisticated way of integrating all your mobile devices. And the big deal here is HMI, human machine interface. Everyone can bring all of these things into the vehicle, but the way you actually utilize all of these things and interface with them, at 70 miles an hour becomes a very important thing to get right. So what you're seeing here is a display. We've got a USB device, just a little thumb drive that's popped in. You can select it, go to a playlist, find something that you want. Now what's happening here is this is a unique system that's just for this interior. We've created a way to integrate this. If you took the iPod interface, for example, and just put it into the display here, it wouldn't be appropriate for 70 miles an hour. One of the key things to that is not only do we have a nice graphical user interface, but there's also voice. So I can speak to the system and it will access the information in my USB device or in my MP3 player and become integrated with the vehicle just through voice.
Now, often when you talk about being in the middle of a cluster, that means it's something unpleasant. In this case, you guys are doing something that's actually improving the overall experience of looking at gauges.
Right. It's clear that a cluster, not to get too deep about it, is kind of looking into the soul of the vehicle. When you turn the key to have a startup sequence where there's lighting effects and the needles are moving, it's kind of coming to life. And that's a really important element that consumers value more and more. So things like what you're seeing here are new technologies that we've developed with our pointers and stepper motors and that sort of thing to be able to get really dramatic effects with 3-dimensional elements, pointers that have incredible lighting, and these tall shafts where you can see the depth of what's going on there, as well as pointers that seem to appear out of the side and do a few tricks that way.
Not everyone has the ability to get a big nav system, but they still need to know what direction they're headed in, and you can help them in that regard.
Right. This is what we call our emotional compass. And what's really cool about this, when you think about it, there's digital clocks, and then you have analog clocks. And in luxury vehicles, it's appropriate to have an analog clock, and there's some kind of emotional element to that. Same concept here when, instead of having a digital compass display, to be able to have, something that recalls, the old compasses of the past, but in a much more sophisticated, kind of updated version. It's backlit, it actually spins around just as you would, expect from an old compass technology, but this is all complete digital new technology. It just has that emotional appeal. It's just a beautiful piece of jewelry for your interior.
Well, we've seen a lot of really exciting things here, and this is just one big auto show. There's a lot of auto shows every year, and we'll be back here again next year. Is it going to be this exciting next year?
Absolutely it will. Johnson Controls is dedicated to innovation, and we have a development community of design and engineers throughout the world working every day to bring innovation into an application like you've seen here today.